Hey, what's up? It's Comic95, the Savior, and for this video I really want to talk about a personal topic, which is date rape. Now, before I go any further, as the title already says, and as you just heard me say, this is obviously a topic that is super sensitive and that has lots of triggers for people. I want to first start off by saying that I am a victim of date rape. I have gone through pretty much everything you can possibly imagine, from being a child to being a teenager to being a young adult. I have been molested, groped, sexually abused, you name it, from pretty much everyone in my life. But this video isn't so much about me. I'm talking about Japanese culture and its stance on these things. Do keep in mind that there are exceptions to every rule, and as with most countries and cultures, when you bring up the dark things about them, there's always going to be a group of people, even people that are from the country, native Japanese people themselves, that will want to defend it and say, oh, that's not true, it's just these people. No, trust me, this is how the general population, feels about these things. Again, there's exceptions to every rule. I don't know everyone in Japan. I'm speaking how the country generally perceives these things. So, if you're not familiar with what date rape is, I highly suggest that you do a little bit of research and then come back, but I will brief you right here. Date rape is, just as it says, a date that leads to, well, rape. Someone being sexually assaulted, molested, whatever the case is, against their will. I think one of the most difficult things, especially for some men, to understand is that just because you go on a date with someone, or just because you are dressed a certain way, does not give anyone the right to touch you, take advantage of you, yet alone rape you, or do anything with you sexually without your permission. You have to give consent in any circumstance. Rape is the act of someone sexually, getting themselves involved with you without your consent. If at any time during the act that you are having sex or planning to have sex leading up to that, you decide that you no longer want to participate and they continue to do so and ignore your wishes, you are now being raped. Now, I will also say, I hate to do this, but to play devil's advocate, I can see things from a guy's perspective too. I do believe that there are a lot of girls who unfortunately, abuse this term and give a bad name for those that are true victims of date rape, like myself, and instead of admitting that they just made a mistake or have a regret that they had sex with somebody that they didn't want, they write it off as, oh, this person raped me, because it sounds better to say that you were raped versus, and I quote, I was easy, or I was a whore, or I was whatever type thing. It's wrong, it's not fair, it's a double standard, but I'm just saying how and or why some girls do this. So, I'm not referring to a girl that has sex with this guy she goes on a date on, a one night stand, and then gets upset and says, oh, he raped me, because she doesn't want to count that body, or she found out that he has, a girlfriend or whatever. She wants to get back and get even, or for religious reasons, whatever the case might be. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a situation in which maybe you were legitimately a couple, maybe, you aren't a couple, you were just casually dating, and this person took advantage of you, whether they slipped a pill in your drink, or they waited until you got drunk, and blacked out to have, make sexual advances towards you. I touched you without your permission. So, I've talked about that long enough. I want to say that I'm really disturbed at how Japan handles this. And I even had a relationship that ended with the guy because I told him that I was date raped, and he didn't really get upset, but he kind of brushed it off and was surprised. And instead of him being disgusted with the guy and feeling bad for me, he was upset at the fact that I had even gone out with this guy. And I'm thinking, this is before I met you, and instead of you being sympathetic for me or whatever, he basically just wrote it off as, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't have been drinking so much, or you shouldn't have gone out with that guy, be more careful. And huh? That's the advice that you have to give me? So part of this is a cultural difference, and another part is, again, just totally different mindset. I noticed that beyond even that ex of mine, that when I would talk to my Japanese friends, about the topic of date rape, they felt super uncomfortable, and not just guys, but girls too. While they did acknowledge its existence, they saw it more as something that was expected, something that's casual and just a thing that happens, I guess, anywhere. And the excuse that I was given was, oh, like, yeah, it's a common thing for, girls and guys to do. And don't get me wrong, they're not saying like, oh, it's common for guys to rape girls. But it's super common here. I say this as a former college student, for girls to go out drinking with guys, especially a guy that they like, to get drunk, end up at a love hotel or at some guy's house, and wake up the next day and realize, oh my God, I had sex with these people or this guy or whatever, and regret what happened. Now, a lot of girls choose not to talk about this. They will write it off, pretend that they're still a virgin, or maybe they'll own the fact that they've had sex before, but they don't consider this to have been rape. They just erase it out of their memory, don't talk about it again. But you'll never see girls go for it and try to press charges or badmouth the guy's name. The only time that these type of situations seem to truly happen is if you're a university student and word gets out that, you're easy and you slept with these guys. Then it becomes, oh, well, no, this guy raped me type thing. But generally speaking, girls will not talk about it. They won't press charges. They won't go to the police. And it's really sad because a lot of it has to do with Japanese culture. You're seen as a burden. You're seen as rude, disrespectful, selfish if you were to go to the police or, go to your school and try to, go to your employer, whatever the case is. You're disrupting society. You're causing a commotion. You know what I mean? I can't even explain it because my brain cannot process this type of thinking. But then when I look back on it, I think that I've actually been in similar situations myself. Because of my upbringing and just my personality and having social anxiety, I actually can relate to Japanese people a lot because I'm someone that overthinks things and I don't like to have attention brought on me, especially if it's going to be negative. And I think it's really sad that there's basically a whole country and culture that runs off of social anxiety, which is Japanese society. Everything is about what other people think, how other people feel, making everyone else comfortable. But it's you sacrifice your own well-being. You sacrifice your own, self, your sexuality, your life, everything. Everything is about making other people feel comfortable, making other people feel happy, even if that means letting a rapist out on the loose. It's very common practice, but nobody's done anything about it. Nobody talks about it. Why have we decided that it's okay for guys to find girls, whether it be in their university, outside of campus, on Tinder, whatever, knowingly, purposefully try to get them wasted in the hopes that, they can have sex with them? If you really want to have sex with these girls, why do you have to be a coward? Why can't you just ask them for it? Why can't you get into a real relationship that leads to regular sex? Why? Because they know they're not up to any good. And this country has decided that it's culturally acceptable, it's okay. And instead of the guy being blamed for being a monster, for being weak, for being a coward, for not being bold or brave enough to just ask this girl while she's in her right mind, instead you take the blame as the girl. You're the whore, you're the slut, you shouldn't have gone out with this guy. You shouldn't have gone to that hotel. And again, playing devil's advocate here, which I hate to do this, but I have to be real into how I really think. I don't feel like if you're in your right mind, you should not obviously go to a place that you know is going to lead to sex. A guy is not going to take you to a hotel to talk. If he ever tells you that, it's a lie. He's going to try to talk those panties off of you, or he's going to rape and or kill you. That's what's going to happen. However, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you went all the way to the hotel room. If you say no, the answer is no. But I will say, as a woman, just being smart to protect your own self and your own life, you should not go somewhere that you know is sketchy, not going to lead to anything good. But again, this doesn't take away from the fact that the guy is still a pervert, a rapist, messed up in the head for taking advantage of you, knowing that you're in a locked room, knowing that, you're wasted, whatever the case is. Now, if you're intoxicated, obviously the circumstances change. If you're not in your right mind, obviously you can't fend for yourself, you can't decide that you're not going to go somewhere, you have no recollection of it. I literally remember blacking out back in the US the last time I was there, the first, last, and only time I blacked out. And my friend actually had to drive me to my mom's house, walk me to the door, and lay me on the couch. And I fell asleep with all of my clothes on. I had no recollection of anything happening. I felt like my clothes were like placed kind of weird. And after my friend spoke to me, he told me that I was trying to undress myself and have sex with them. But we're not going to talk about that in this video. My point is, I had no memory of what happened. And that was definitely a perfect situation where if my friend wanted to be bogus, he could have taken advantage of me. Instead, he got freaked out, called my mom. He actually had to talk to Suri and have her call my mom for me and, you know, took me straight home. But what if you're in a situation where you don't know this person so well? It's okay for them to rape you then? Like what? How is the blame on you? Yeah, sure, you should have handled your liquor better or whatever. But guys get drunk here all the time. So... and of course you can argue, well, somebody can steal their suitcase and they say that they shouldn't have, you know, been wasted or whatever. But let's be real. Your sexual well-being is not the same as someone's suitcase. You can get pregnant. You can get an STD. Anything can happen from someone taking advantage of you sexually. And it's a very personal, intimate act. You should be able to choose who you have sex with. And you should be fully aware of what's going on, what they're doing to you. So this video doesn't really have much of a point, it's really just a rant, but I really just find it disturbing that both guys and girls have no real opinion on this. Guys blame the girl, and as a girl, it's kind of like a laugh off, oh, like that's really bad, yeah, he shouldn't have done that type thing. But like girls will never really advise you and like go all the way through with helping you to like go to the police. That won't really be encouraged here. It's a cultural thing. They don't want to raise, you know, not raise eyebrows, but they don't want to like cause people to be concerned or make them worry or, you know, any type of unwanted stressful situation. They don't want to bring both on themselves unwanted attention and spotlight, or on their school, or on the person and or their family. And I think it's really sad and really messed up. And it goes beyond just date rape. I mean, you see this type of stuff happen at school with professors, in which, you know, they can do bogus stuff and just be moved to another school, even if they've, you know, been caught touching a child or recording child porn by having a camera set up in a, you know, girl's bathroom stall. Just a tap on the wrist. So it's really like sick, it's really disturbing, and it's really sad seeing that there's so many people, so many victims that will never get help, that will never speak up, that will never talk about what happened to them, because culturally, I don't even think they're aware that it's not their fault. They blame themselves. These girls think it's their fault. And yeah, sure, ultimately, you can play devil's advocate. You can find things that you could have done differently that would have resulted in your night turning out differently. But at the end of the day, no one should have been putting their hands on you without your permission. And it's wrong. And I'm sorry, but while going out and getting drunk and twirling your hair and telling guys that you like them, whatever, might be a cultural thing. Rape definitely doesn't belong in anyone's culture, and it's never acceptable. Going out for a drink, being okay with being drunk in front of others, does not mean you're okay with being raped. And if it was, once again, why can't guys just say, hey, my goal is to get you drunk. I want to have sex with a drunk girl because I'm shy. They'll never do that. Because then fine, it looks weak and it would be seen as rape. But as long as you don't remember, it's okay, or so they think. I can't wrap my mind around it. It really like sickens me. I understand it from a girl's perspective, but I can never understand how a guy can be okay with this. I can see how as a girl, myself included, you might not feel comfortable coming forward and telling people. You might think you're not going to be believed. You might be afraid about, you know, what others are going to think of you. But as a man, it's just really disturbing and sick to think that you even want to have sex with somebody in that state. So that's that. Again, there's not really much more to this. It's really strange seeing that this is the culture and how rape is treated. So my advice to you as a girl, as I've talked about in other videos, if you are going to go out for a night, you should make it very clear about how much you're willing to drink, what your limits are. Keep an eye on your drink. Let some other friends know, both girls and guys, preferably if you can. where you're going, who you'll be with, and when you'll be back. I know it sounds so old-fashioned, so cliche. Your mother probably told you this, but I promise you it's so important, especially being here in Japan, because I promise you nobody's going to help you if something does happen, sadly. People don't and won't care. And even the police, like, if you go to the police and tell them what happened, the moment that they hear, oh, so you were on a date, like, your whole case, it loses ground. It's like, so you went on a date with your rapist? Like, how is it rape? They can't comprehend that. And so, of course, there's cases where I'm pretty sure people have won and they've gotten this guy in trouble or fined or whatever the case is. But the reality is, in most circumstances, that's not what happens. Instead, the blame is put back on you as a woman. You shouldn't have been there. It was a date. It was a misunderstanding. You were drunk. Maybe you did want it, whatever the case is. And just even like thinking about it makes me feel sick myself when I think about my own personal situation. So again, just really look out for yourself. Look out for your friends. Be careful who you go out with. If you do date somebody that you don't know, I strongly suggest that you only have 1 to 2 drinks. Don't pass that 3rd drink, and make sure that you eat plenty of food both before, during, and after to ensure that like you don't get into the I'm not in my right mind type stage. I've literally gone out on dates with guys before where early on, back when I was like 20, and I thought that, you know, I was with a nice guy. Like, I thought that I made it clear that, you know, I'm just trying to casually hang out as friends. And instead, the guy took it as friends, meaning I want to have sex without a commitment. And so instead of just asking me to have sex, this guy took me bar hopping. And eventually, once, you know, we started drinking at the bar, he kept trying to get me to drink more and more and more, and he seemed almost like frustrated. Like, there's a meme that talks about this, like a, yo, strong liquor bitch or whatever it was. I think that was like me. Like, he was wondering why I wasn't getting drunk, and I'm like, we keep eating so much food. And then I realized that this guy was like putting his hand on my lap, and I like freaked out. And I told him that, you know, I didn't want him to touch me and that I was ready to go home. I was like, oh, okay, I want to go home. And he like got super, super angry. He wouldn't help me like get back to my station. I was lost. I think I was like in Shibuya or something. I didn't know how to get back to my train line. I was new to Japan. And so I realized this guy, he wasn't trying to be my friend. He was trying to get me drunk and take me to a love hotel. He took me to all these little cheap ass bars. So you have no money, no career, no nothing, but you want to be a rapist. Okay. So, like, I'm not trying to scare people off and speak out of both sides of my mouth. I love these apps. I use dating apps myself, but do keep in mind that there are bad people out there. There are people, and I would say arguably most, if not a lot of people on these apps, they're using them specifically to find cheap and or free sex. That's what they're using them for. And they know that it's loaded with girls that are looking for the same thing. Girls that are in bad marriages, girls that have boyfriends that, you know, don't like sex or whatever the case is. There's foreign girls that they've been told are easy hookers, basically. And so for them, it's a win-win situation. Free sex, foreign girl with a perfect body. What's there to lose for these guys? They'll lie to you, say whatever it takes, pretend to be your boyfriend, pretend to just be friends and be okay, you know, with just hanging out. Slip a pill in your drink, lock you in a room and force you to do things that you don't want to do, or just simply get you drunk. So if that's what you want to do, you're cool with it, fine, by all means. But be really, really careful if you're with somebody that you don't want to have sex with. And keep in mind that while you might just be with one person, you can end up waking up in a room and there be a whole room full of guys that you did not agree, you know, to have, you know, all type of mess happen to you while you were out of it. STDs are no joke, and neither is pregnancy. And you definitely don't want to have to go through that mess being here in Japan. So just keep an eye out on yourself, for your friends, etc. Sadly, the police are not really going to help you. I've been there, done that. Your Japanese friends aren't going to really be there to help you. They're not going to understand. They're not going to want to get involved with, you know, the messiness of this. It's sad. It's embarrassing. There's a lot of cultural differences, and it just sucks. So that's that. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you have any advice to share, any experiences that you've had dealing with date rape, whether it be personal experience with your friends, your family, in Japan, etc., Please leave a comment down below. Maybe you can help someone else out. Maybe you can give me some insight, advice, or whatever on what you did to handle your situation. Otherwise, I would appreciate it if you would follow me on Instagram and Twitter and add me on Snapchat. I have a Facebook fan page as well, and you can check out my blog and my YouTube homepage for more dating advice. I have a playlist there for you to watch. So, thank you so much for watching. Bye.